Happy Advent. Happy second week of Advent. I hope all is going well for you. It's going well for me. Thanks for asking. And except I'm a little cold. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm wearing a scarf. Underneath the scarf is a sweater, and I have a jacket on. And A friend of mine, Barbara, gave me this blanket back in Chula Vista, and I have it wrapped around my legs. Uh, yeah, and I'm still in Florida. But we have a bit of a cold snap going on, and I am doing my best to not acclimate. I'm trying to stay used to the summer weather. So I have this thermometer. It's actually to check for humidity, but it's showing that it's 64 degrees in my office. It's more like 32 degrees under my desk, but that's all right. I'm just getting used to it. So I hope next week, Advent 3, you'll see me sitting here in shorts and a t-shirt. That's what I'm shooting for, but we'll see what happens. So this week, we're talking about constancy. And as our weather changes and as our season changes and as frankly, everything around us is changing, including the calendar, let's look at the unchangelessness or the constancy of God. Let's take a moment to reflect on what prayer means as our prayer life changes to the God who is and was and will be. And what is that relationship with us as we constantly shift and change? So our guide for today is the same guide we had last week. Her name is Joan Chittister, and she is the author of this book, The Breath of the Soul. So reflections on prayer. And with constancy today, the other travel companion we will have is St. Matthew and his 20th chapter, when he talks of Jesus's parable about the man who went out to hire, the kingdom of heaven is like this. He went out to hire workers in the beginning of the day, and then at midday, and then afternoon, and then right before the sunset, he hired more workers. And yet at the end, he paid them all the same wage. So we're going to hear that parable. We're going to hear from St. Augustine and his talk about the changelessness of God and how we change, but God doesn't. So, so with that, let us enter into reflections on prayer. And let me bring up Joan's writing for today. So we normally begin here with the title and then the quote from an author, and then I'll read what Joan has to say about it. For today, though, I would like to start with our mantra. Actually, I'll start with the reading from Matthew, then to our mantra, then back to the beginning. So this is from Matthew chapter 20. And again, Jesus is describing the kingdom of heaven as like this. When those hired late in the afternoon came up, they received a full day's pay. And when the first group, the one that had been hired in the morning, when the first group appeared, they assumed they would get more, yet they all received the same daily wage. Thereupon they complained to the owner. The owner said, "My friends, I do you no injustice. You agreed on the usual wage, didn't you? Take your pay and go home. I intend to give this worker who was hired last the same pay as you. I'm free to do as I please with my money, aren't I? Or are you envious because I'm generous?" Jesus ends it with, "Thus, the last will be first, and the first will be last." Our mantra for this week: loving God, give me grace to see your presence in my life and to serve you with unity, constancy, and peace. Constancy. From St. Augustine. O Lord our God, under the shadow of your wings, let us hope in your custody. Carry us when we are little. Bear us when our hair is white and we cry out in infirmity. When you grasp us, the grip is firm. When we try to sustain ourselves, the grasp is feeble. The only good we can know rests in you. The search for God is the project of a lifetime. It does not come at the instant of an exercise completed. It does not come as an automatic reaction to the keeping of a prayer schedule. More directly, prayer is not the immediate answer to the search for God. Prayer is only the promise that there is purpose to the quest. When we are ready, God will be there. But readiness for God is something to be developed, not something that can be guaranteed. The Israelites stood far off from Sinai because they knew that to see God face to face could destroy them, burn them to cinders, obliterate them as they had always known themselves to be. And we know that too. Instinctively and timidly, we avoid any real encounter with God because we know it will change our lives. We go through the motions of seeking God, of course, but we find it very hard to believe that God is God, all knowing, all merciful, all loving, all patient. Because there is no time with God, only eternity. What we did yesterday, a lifetime of yesterdays, is nothing compared with what we finally come to be. Like the workers in the fields who come at the last hour, those of us who spend our lifetimes growing into God will find at the very end the very same God that others may come to know long before we do. Augustine is very clear. Our God does not change. It is we who will change as time goes by. God is God always. And God is with us always. It is we who are so often somewhere else. After we have sought and gone through all the baubles of life, God is still there, waiting for us. After we have spent our life avoiding God, we find, and when we are finally ready and willing to look, that the love of God, still alive in us, still beckons us beyond the frills and fantasies of life, to the meaning of what it means to be alive, to the basics of life itself. It is being wise enough to pray for the grace of awareness of the presence of God that will eventually prepare us to see it in all the dimensions of life. Then we will not treat God as an answer to our problems. We will understand that God is more the companion whose light shines within us to lead us through them. There is no such thing as coming too late to God. All the way to God is the way. Clearly, we cannot lose God. We can only prepare ourselves to come to see the face of the eternal and ever immediate God in everything. How long will that take? What difference does it make? The God we find when we do will be the same God, however long that takes, whenever it happens. It is the journey, not the end, that counts. Loving God, give me grace to see your presence in my life and to serve you with unity, constancy, and peace. Loving God, give me grace to see your presence in my life and to serve you with unity, constancy, and peace. Loving God, give me grace to see your presence in my life and to serve you with unity, constancy, and peace. May the peace of the Lord be always with you.